a fine group of humans we have assembled this morning. You folks are wonderful. Thank you for being here. My first guest, actually my second guest, following Chuck the Weasel. My next guest has been described as both controversial and unpredictable. Please welcome the host of NBC's Tomorrow Show, Mr. Tom Snyder.
Things are fine, thank you.
I appreciate you getting up this end of the day because you...
This is a little early. There are a number of things I usually do in the morning that I haven't accomplished yet to be here.
Now, what? Phone calls and so
yes,
forth?
Calls,
yeah,
letters,
yeah.
Yeah, meetings with people, things like that. Figuring out whose day I can make miserable, you know.
Well, you're darn good at it, Tom. How's the new show, the new Tomorrow Show?
It's long. You were with us, I think, a week ago tonight, and... you'll remember this, and I don't say this in jest, 90 minutes is a long time. Yes. To sit in a television studio with people who are sitting in seats such as these people are here. And most people, I feel, come to a television program to watch it in the studio for one of two reasons: to laugh, and I'm not very good at comedy, as you know and have expressed here on the air. The second reason they show up, I suspect, is to win a refrigerator or a microwave or something like that.
That's right.
And I ain't got no refrigerators to give away.
Yeah.
So I sometimes say to myself in the middle of a serious interview, such as we had Thursday night with Richard Queen, the hostage from Iran, gee, are these people really here because they want to be here, or are they expecting the new car to come out at any second and, you know, get the bid on the price, something like that? So it's a little bit difficult. It's a long answer to a short question.
Yeah, these people are waiting in the studio for the methadone clinic to open.
I saw the fellow in the hallway, so they don't have long to wait.
You know, your show is really enjoyable, and my favorite part of the show. Now, I must confess, I've not seen the new one because I get up around dawn, deliver the papers, and then come to work. But I always enjoy you just talking to a person, and it's real interesting, and I hope you continue that segment.
I don't like, and you probably don't either, panel discussions, as they call them, where you have 5 or 6 experts out there, and I have the feeling that a lot of times they bring 5 or 6 experts on because the production people are not quite comfortable with 1 or 2 they feel a subject will not be covered. But I feel when you got 8 people out there and you try to let them all have their say in front of the camera, it gets in the way of good conversation. Yeah. You know, if we had 12 people here, it would be upsetting to you and me because we wouldn't be able to say the things that we want to say to each other.
Yeah, I've found that a situation like that, you get into redundancy. 2 people can pretty well cover the topic. Let me talk about something different, something that you started making your living in, local news. What do you think about the way local news is being presented now? You know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. And all these people who are in this room and all the people watching are now watching stations that have an hour, sometimes 2 hours of local news every night. You and I have both been at stations where we had 2 guys, 2 gals, and a dog and did 15 minutes a day, and that was the end of it. Now it has become a very valuable source of revenue to the local stations, so these programs have expanded. And some of the things they put in there, in my view, are questionable, especially material that relates to pornography or sex. A lot of times you'll see an ad, tonight on the news, the new child molesters. And when you see that ad, you know it's ratings time.
Exactly.
Please watch to get more ratings. I'm a little disturbed by that.
Yeah.
Why is she making pictures of us back there? Probably our last appearance together, huh?
Well, it could be one of our last appearances.
Are you busy tonight?
You know, my schedule has opened up considerably. We're going to pause here for a commercial and be back to talk with talk more with Mr. Snyder. Howard Hughes. You mentioned Howard Hughes.
Well, I told him in the break, we had a gentleman in on Thursday night named Melvin Dumar. Melvin Dumar was the man who in 1968 supposedly found Howard Hughes laying on his face, prone on his face in the deserts of Nevada, put him in the car and took him back to his apartment at the Sands Hotel. Dumar ran the gasoline station in Utah at which the will Howard Hughes left behind turned up following his death in 1976. And you know there was a great big court battle involved to test the validity of that will. So now Thursday night, in comes Melvin Dumar with the attorney that fought to establish the validity of the will. And we're talking about things, and the attorney says of Melvin Dumar, gas station attendant, he said, now, if this guy hadn't perjured himself, if this guy hadn't lied on the stand and told so many different stories about the Howard Hughes will, it would have been declared valid, and Melvin Dumar would have inherited 1/16 of all the money Howard Hughes left, about $175 to $200 million, okay? So now he's talking about this guy lied and this guy perjured himself, and I look over at Dumar and tears are coming down this guy's face, okay? I said, why are you crying? And he says, well, Mr. Hughes was such a wonderful man, and I loved him so much, and he loved me so much. And I said, well, is possibly the reason you're crying is it's just dawned on you that you've blown $200 million, you know, and you're now selling frozen tuna in Utah for $300 a week. What a terrible moment it was for that poor man to realize Gonski, you know, all over.
See, that's a great bit of TV, though.
And as for the gas station which he owned, they built a freeway 3 miles west, and that's gone too. So he's had a tough go. This is a man. His go was so tough that he divorced his wife, spent a night with her, she got pregnant, and he had to marry her again. It's been a very, very tough go for this man. Little odds and ends you pick up in late night television.
Let me ask you about. You mentioned a wife. Let me ask you about your family. Well, I've watched your show since it first came on the air. I can quote back to you some of the early things that you did on the Tomorrow Show, but I really don't recall you ever much discussing a family or your family or...
You're right, I haven't discussed that. And I'm so happy you brought it up this morning because I'm dying. No, like many people in this country, I'm a divorced person. Like many people, I have a daughter or a son that I see. In this case, it's not a daughter or a son, it's a daughter. And it was the last time I made the call, anyway. And I don't talk about that too much, David, as I've noticed you don't discuss your own personal life.
Now, why do you feel like not inclined to discuss it?
Because I don't think it's interesting. I don't think people really much want to, waste valuable network watching time hearing me tell about my family, just as they don't want to waste valuable network watching time hearing you talk about your family.
Yeah.
It's basically boring. It's the same old thing. More coffee, honey? No thanks. I'll just get an apartment in town. It's very, very simple.
What do you want to do now?
When I grow up, yeah.
I wanted to compliment you on a show you did. Prime Time was the name of the show, and there was a piece on there about the auditions for The Little Girl and Annie. I thought that was a wonderful piece.
Nice little story, wasn't
very
it?
Nice.
Several people here saw it, too.
But you're not doing that show anymore. You're doing the Tomorrow Show.
That's it, basically.
Now, what other things would you want to do?
I think basically that's it. That's 90 minutes a night, 4 nights a week. It's a curious thing. All my life, people who view what we do, the press, people in the building, your colleagues, they always have it in their head that there's something more that people like you and I should do. When I was doing the local news here in New York and the Tomorrow Show, 10 hours of television a week, they said, well, now, you really ought to be doing something more. And now I'm doing the Tomorrow Show, and they say, well, what do you really want to do?
I know.
I mean, this is my hard one. I am very comfortable doing late-night television. I enjoy it a great deal. It's been on the network now for 7 years. There ain't too many people that have been fortunate enough to have a show that has lasted that long. And
try 7 weeks. Yeah, that show is...
But you know what I'm saying? I'm saying, hey, why do I have to do something more? And I didn't mean to say that.
No,
you haven't said
I'm
this.
glad you said that.
And I am sorry that this program is going to disappear because it was something... It was something different and something adventurous and something really courageous in daytime television. And unfortunately...
Very nice of you. Let me ask you about...
I want you to not say... Because I mean that.
With
this show not being in this building, a little bit of television in New York is going to die. And we'll all be the poorer for that. And unfortunately, there are some people down the hall on this floor who don't recognize that. Then that's their problem.
Thank you very much. Very, very courageous of you to say that.
And they know who they are. And their names.
No. Now, let me ask you about Rona Barrett. How do you get along with Rona Barrett?
I get along with her real well.
She's coming on to be your West Coast anchor, right? Yeah.
Correspondent on the 27th of October. I've known Rona for a long time. She's done reports on you, on me, and she's always been very fair. And I've had some dealings with her over the years, had her as a guest on the show a couple of times. And she's a most misunderstood lady. She's not just the lovely Miss Rona, but she's a damn fine journalist and reporter and personality, a star in her own right, as the press releases say. And I'm looking forward to her being there. I think she'll help us there. I think for me to sit there and do interviews for 90 minutes is basically boring.
No. That's, you know, that to me was the perfect thing for that hour of the night, was to watch you talk to somebody. And it will continue, and Rona will be joining you when?
October the 27th.
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 This gentleman's name is Tom Snyder. I'm grateful that you took the time to be here.
It's my pleasure, sir. Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Anytime, Paul, any night you want to go with me looking for Larry King, let me know.
Let's look for somebody else.
Well, see, we haven't found Larry King yet.
Okay.
Let's at least accomplish one task, and then we'll move on.
All right, that sounds like fun.
All right, let's turn on this thing. You ready for this? We have nothing in here tonight because we kept putting all kind of odd fluids in there, and we were screwing up the effect. So tonight it's just normal water with a little bit of suds. We're trying to clean out the pipes. There it is.
Excuse me a
a
second.
very nice show.
Excuse
Susan
me,
Rattan is here.
Excuse
George
me a minute,
Miller.
Dave.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yes, Paul.
1 second.
Yeah.
Is it me, or did I see something crazy in the Prancing Fluids?
In the
I'm not
Prancing
sure
Fluids?
right in the middle of the actual fluids themselves.
You thought you saw something?
Something nutty. Do you think you could turn them on
I'll
again?
turn them on again. I don't know. I was busy with my paperwork here. All right, I'll switch it on. Let's see. Where exactly did you see it, Paul?
Well, it was just kind of right in the middle of the thing.
Oh my God, he's right.
I can't be sure of this, but I thought I saw the ghostly image of Tom Snyder.
Yeah, I think.
That's weird. That was very.
See, this is in lieu of actual comedy. Now, when we edit the show tonight, we'll actually drop in something funny in that position, and you at home will think we're having a good time. You know, speaking of people on the radio, Tom Snyder just started his own radio show.
Is he on the radio now?
Yeah, I heard part of the show last night. Very entertaining. It's nice to have Tom back on the airwaves.
Oh, good.
All right. Now what are we doing? I had something wonderful happen to me today. Let's turn these on, see if these are working. Are those still? Want to make sure we check the equipment, make sure everything is functioning properly.
David, I'm
yes.
sorry. I thought I saw something funny in the fountain.
In the fountains?
Yeah, I'm sure that I saw something, a spooky image appearing.
I think you just need some time off, Paul.
What?
Don't worry about it. No, everything's.
Guess you're right.
Everything's
Guess you're
fine.
right, Dave. Yeah.
Everything's going to be just fine.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, whatever
Let's
you
see
say.
if this is that working at all? All right, we have to move along. We have a wonderful show. Fred Willard is here tonight, and also Jake Johansson and the
Dave,
woman with
I'm
her herbs
so,
from up in
Let me
Connecticut.
say, I'm so relieved that
What's
we
that,
didn't.
Paul?
Well, I'm relieved that we didn't see, you know, the you-know-what in the.
Oh, yeah.
Prancing
Paul is
Fluids.
under the opinion that the last couple of nights you've seen some sort of apparition here in the fountain.
Well,
but you just need a little rest.
Well, I know.
Your eyes were playing tricks on
I was
you.
a little overtired.
No, believe me, there's no vision there to... Oh, my God, what was that?
Dave.
What is it, Biff?
The coffee machine.
What are you trying to tell us, Biff?
Coffee machine.
Some kind of problem. Hal, could we get a shot of the coffee machine backstage? Biff is beside himself. What is going on back there?
Take a look.
Okay, here it is, the coffee machine. See, I think that's just some kind of swamp gas.
You know, it could be the Aurora Borealis.
That's right.
The Northern Lights.
Yeah.
To get that up in Canada.
It's nothing. Shoot, relax, forget it. Yeah, just because this place was built on an old Indian burial ground, I'm very excited, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to go into this, but I have brand new contact lenses in my head, and it's like somebody came into my house and washed my windows. It's unbelievable. And a guy did this. He came right up to my office and did it, and it took like 8 minutes. He comes up, he shines a little thing in each eye, picks out a set, pops them right in, and they're great.
So it feels clear?
Oh, it's wonderful. They're a little heavier than the old ones, so I'm having trouble keeping my head up. But is this thing working? Let's see if that's going to happen. No, it's not working. Well, part of it's working. Jeez, it sounded like it was working, didn't it? I could have sworn that was working. Let's try it again. Let's see. Oh, no, now it's completely dead. Whereas before it was working 50%, now it's not working at all.
Hey, the waters are dead, and
yeah,
it's too bad, you know, because they look so great and everything.
In rehearsal. Didn't they look good in rehearsal?
They were fabulous,
Yeah.
and I finally got over my phobia against them, too.
I know you had some problems with the fountain.
Well, I was afraid of them for a while, but I'm glad to see that we're finally free of the you-know-what.
Yeah, that's right. Paul thought he imagined that he saw something in the fountains, and it was nothing, Paul. It was, I don't know, an apparition or, I don't know, something that... What the hell was that? Oh, my God, what is
something
that?
From the hallway.
Something in the hallway.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. What the hell was that? Jeez.
Well, I think it was lights from an airplane reflecting off a cloud formation.
Yeah, well, you know, we're near several major metropolitan airports.
Yeah, could be anything. No, they're not working.
That's all right. We'll get a guy in here with a hose later to just turn it on you. Am I the only one who smells toast? Everybody, how many of you all smell toast here?
Yeah.
This is Mary Jenkins, I guess, preparing Elvis's. We bring her all the way up from Tennessee to make toast. Is that the? It's Thursday.
Whatever Elvis liked, he liked.
Yeah, that's right. It's what is going on over there? Oh, Santa's elves are a little noisy tonight, aren't they? Oh, brother.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Tom Snyder, and welcome once again to the Tomorrow Show here on NBC. Tonight, we're going to take a look at the future of late-night television. I mean, is it going straight to hell, or is it going right down the tubes? And here with me is a fellow you all know, Mr. David Letterman. Dave, it's good. By the way, is it David or is it Dave? What do you like?
Dave is fine.
Right, yeah. Sir. Dave it is. Now, tell me, Dave, what the heck is going on TV after midnight? I mean, is there any hope at all here?
Well, gee, I'm really not sure.
In other words, Dave, it's pretty grim, a pretty sad story. There's not much going on here, right?
Well, I don't know. Of course, you have Johnny, and then there's Ted Koppel.
Okay, all right, okay. There's Johnny, there's Ted Koppel. Okay, fair enough, Dave. I'll give you Mr. Koppel, but that's about it. The folks at home, they might as well go to bed now.
Well, again, Tom, I'm not sure.
No, they might as well turn off the set, Dave. They might as well hit the hay, skip the whole thing, get some sleep. Forget it.
Well, you know, Tom, interestingly enough, I have a little show that I do every night at about 12:30 here on NBC.
Like I say, you know, douse the lights, fluff up the pillow, and pull out the plug, head for dreamland, flip the switch, pull back the...
I don't care. We got a great show tonight. We've been trying to get Tom Snyder on this program for the last 5.5 years, and he's here tonight. And one of the broadcasting giants, and he's with us. Boy, it's a great day here in New York City. If you like drizzly, rain, chilly weather, it's beautiful here in New York City tonight. Do you like it when it's like this, Paul?
It's rough. I can't say I do.
Boy, I do. I think one of these a month would be just fine. It's very exciting. It makes the city seem doubly romantic, don't you think? Our first guest tonight entertained the late-night television viewing audience as host of NBC's Tomorrow program. This show, terribly successful, was on the air for, I think, 8 years, from 1973 until 1981. And last month, he began a brand new project. It's a nightly ABC radio network talk show. Folks, please welcome the one, the only, Tom Snyder. Tom, good to see you. Pleasure to have you here. No. Thank you. You want to go home. I want to go home.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
You walked out and you gave the talk show salute.
Basically, I don't know what to do with my hands. I'm so nervous, it's scary. I mean,
Now, why are you nervous?
Because, Dave, I haven't been in the... And by the way, I like what you've done to the room. It looks really, really good.
Thank you very much.
Really, you really fixed it up nicely. It's been since 1981 that I've been in this room and in this building, and I have great reverence for this building and for this audience and for this time period, because in 15 years, only 2 of us have done this.
All right, but you were the one, Tom, who made it viable. If it weren't for you...
Stop it now.
Well, no, that's true. I mean, you came on and proved that there was an audience out there eager for network television.
A small audience in the beginning, but eager to be sure.
That's right. And now you're on, I guess it is ABC Radio.
Well, it's a conglomeration network, and I don't want to go into it because it's very complicated, but if they hate me here, you can always turn the radio on right now. I'm over there right
now. Will you be on right now talking about what happened here tonight?
Probably.
Yeah.
In fact, people will be calling in from all over the country telling me how I did, and I hope they say I've done good.
Yeah. But, you know, it's a greatly entertaining show. When I drive home, I have the choice now of listening to Larry King or you, and I go back and forth most nights. And I must... well, you do, because I mean...
What a guy, huh?
No, I didn't mean that the way it sounded.
I know you didn't, Dave.
But as we were talking earlier, I think that AM radio and network radio now is some of the most creative and informational,
well, I compete
entertaining
now
programming.
with Larry King, who's on another network, and Steve Allen is back on the radio, and Sally Jesse Raphael is coming on the radio network. A lot of people are coming on the radio network. And people say why, and I say because they asked us.
Sure. But didn't you start in radio? I'm guessing you did.
We all did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The Mighty 1340, Mounds of Sound, Stacks of Wax, all designed with you in mind for your late afternoon pleasure. Absolutely.
Do you like what you see happening with the radio now? Especially, we're talking here in New York, of course, it's Howard Stern and almost every major
like
market.
Shock radio, where like there's one out in Los Angeles, and I won't mention his name because I don't put down other performers or talent.
Come on, put some down.
His name is Jay. His name is Jay Thomas, and I can't criticize the man, David, because I've not listened to him. He's on early in the morning, and I work late at night, and I watch you late at night. You're my cocktail hour television at 12:30. But on the back of all the buses now in Los Angeles, it says, "We apologize for Jay Thomas." I don't want to do programs that I have to apologize for. I don't want to do stuff that shocks people, much the same as great comedians don't want to tell off-color jokes to get laughs. They want to be more inventive and work harder.
Yeah. Don't you think I always have
no idea what I'm saying, but it sounded pretty good, didn't it?
But that's what broadcasting is. None of us have any idea what we're talking about. These people are just in here to get out of the rain. They don't care. Anyway, let's talk about the old Tomorrow Show. I think, along with many other Americans, I probably saw the first broadcast and most of the subsequent broadcasts that you did. And there were some moments that I wish I could have talked to you about immediately after the show was finished. The night you were going to have a guy, and forgive me if I've got this wrong.
That's okay.
An average guy.
Oh,
the average American viewer.
The average American. And you have to remember, this was back at a time when there were gasoline lines, energy crisis, financial crisis, and America was entering a dark period. And so we put and Watergate was starting too. So we had experts from the White House and from the administration, from the financial community, the economists, and so a guy writes from Evansville, Indiana, I believe it was. He says, you know, I sell television sets out here, and I listen to all these people who are great experts. And he said, I know they have great opinions, but I have opinions too on what America should do. Why not bring me on? So you know how it works with the staff. You say, hey, why not? We have nothing else going on tonight. That's right. So we gave the guy... No,
but it does sound like a great idea.
Yeah. On paper, average.
A lovely idea.
We bring the guy in from Evansville. He walks into Studio One in Burbank with the Tonight Show set over here somewhere and the band over here. He sits down with me, and the lights are on, and he freezes. And I say, well, Joe from Evansville, what do you think about the economy? You freeze, you know. And of course, you start to sweat right here, and you call a staff meeting after the show and say, I don't ever want to see that happen here again.
How long was the guy on for?
He was on about 35 seconds, Dave, and gone.
Have you, did that happen much? Did you find, even with guys who should...
Even with pros. I mean, one night we had a booking with Joseph E. Levine, the motion picture producer since departed, who worked with Sophia Loren and all the great stars of the 1960s. So he came on, and I said, Mr. Levine, how did you get into the motion picture business from your fish restaurant in Boston? And he said, and you have to remember, and I say this with respect, there was no Paul, there was no studio audience, there was no Bill Wendell. It's just an empty studio with Tom and Joe Levine with an hour to fill.
Right.
How did you get into the motion picture business? He said, well, a guy showed me a script one day at a studio in Queens, and the rest is history. And he stopped. And I mean, there's dead silence in the studio, okay? I said, well, I got about 44 more minutes to do here, and if you could kind of give me some of that history, it would be very, very helpful to me.
Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work, and they don't know, and what can you do? We'll do
You can die.
Yeah, we'll do it, but that's all part of it. That's what makes it fun.
Of course it is.
It's the ups and downs that
Right.
every one of us have. We'll do a commercial. We'll be right back here. More with Tom Snyder. Snyder is here. You know, I can remember watching your show over was it 8 or 9 years?
8.5 years.
8.5
we
years.
say 9 in the press release.
Very close. I mean, to have a show on the air a year anymore is an accomplishment. Yeah.
Yep.
But I can remember nights.
No, what I'm doing to you, and I shouldn't do this.
Oh,
but,
you're Joe Levine.
no, if I were, I couldn't be here, could I?
No, I guess
he's
not.
in a very tough area code right now. One day I did a show. One day I did an interview a long time ago in Philly with Geraldine Chaplin, the daughter of Charlie Chaplin. Okay, thank you very much.
Members of the Chaplin family here
That's
tonight.
correct. And she at the time was appearing in a Chekhov play with, oh goodness, memory, don't fail me now, sir, the great British actor
Larry Storch.
Well, I'll tell you, Dave, you got the first name right. It's Larry Olivier. Very good.
Lawrence Olivier.
That's 30
Okay.
points
All
and
right.
a chance to go to the bonus round. Yeah. It's a joke. It's only a dumb.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now she was doing the show with Laurence Olivier, and at the time she had spent her time going across Europe, living with a famous Spanish director, and engaging in a relationship with him.
Right.
And she was the daughter of Charlie Chaplin. Now you would think that this woman had stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Every question was what I said to you. Yep.
Yeah.
Nope. Yep.
Yeah.
Nope.
So there's really nothing you can do. The lesson that
You know this.
The lesson that you learn pretty quickly. It makes no difference if what the person does. It always is more important what kind of person
Haven't
you have
you
there.
found, David, that the smaller people are better than the biggest possible names? Sometimes the biggest names come in here,
Right.
and you figure that they're going to be dynamite.
Right.
And they aren't, and then everybody feels let down.
Yeah, that's no guarantee. I'm always surprised at people who make a living in show business. When they get here, they seem to forget that this is part of show business. But I can remember
And
Tom.
they keep looking over here for their lines, like, now what do I
Yeah,
say? And
yeah.
there's nothing over there.
But I can remember nights watching you, and I hope this doesn't embarrass you, because at the time I found it to be exciting to watch. I can remember one night you had somebody on, you were cooking. And the whole time you're cooking, it's a fairly well-respected chef. I don't know, the name escapes me at this point. And the whole time you're making up
Larry
this...
Storch. No.
Yeah. The whole time you're making up this delicate sauce, you got a butt going. And I thought, that's great. Tom's cooking with this guy, and he's flicking ashes from his lucky strike everywhere. And another night, out of nowhere...
Your other favorites, Dave.
Out of nowhere, and again, correct me if I'm misremembering this, I think you just belched on the air one night. Now, did that happen or not?
Of course it did.
It did happen.
Yes.
See,
People sneeze, people belch, people
Yeah.
make all kinds of bodily noises on the air. Luckily, the microphones point upward, which is good for all of us.
But that was a part
getting
of
restless out there,
That
aren't
was
they?
part of the overall intimacy that show created the illusion of, or generated, or
It
whatever.
was a very quiet show.
But fun, a great deal of fun.
It was a great deal
Yeah.
of fun, and Dave, I know this is going to come as a tremendous shock to you. It's over.
Well, I know it's over, but don't you like to talk about it a little bit?
No, because to me, it's not where we've been, it's where we're going.
Exactly.
I mean,
Let me tell one more story.
Okay.
I remember
I'll tell you, my favorite show, one of my favorites of all, was one night we put on 4 unknown comedians.
Now, see, that's what I was going to tell. Let me tell that one.
No, I want to tell it. No.
Yeah, it was 4 of us. It was myself, it was Billy Crystal, it was Merrill Marco, and it was somebody really unknown, because we can't remember.
Harry Shearer.
I don't think Harry was on that team.
Trust me on this, Dave. It'll work.
All right, so it wasn't Harry Shearer.
But it'll work. Go for it.
So in the middle of the discussion, Tom is sitting there, and of course it was the open chairs, and all of a sudden, I don't know if we can do this or not, Tom is there like this, and he looks at me, and without really, actually he didn't even look at me, he just went like that. Just gave me a shot with his shoe.
No, I didn't.
But I thought that was, this man is really controlling this ship any way he can.
I tried to be as generous with, I came in here today and I'm a little discombobulated, in the presence of all this grandeur.
Grandeur.
Now come on.
You got to get out more often, Tom.
You should see the places I work in, okay?
They got time to go to the Times Square Motor Hotel, apparently.
I should be so lucky. If there were a sidewalk in front of the radio studio here in New York, it would be a blessing. Very quickly, because I know you have to move on.
We got all the time you want.
No. But to come in here and we shot the cold opening where we made believe.
Right.
We made believe that you were a guest on the Tomorrow Show.
That's right.
It is a very generous thing for a man to give of the opening of his program to a guest. That's a very generous thing to do. Your audience expects to see the late night logo and the walk through 30 Rock or whatever and the dog and Paul Schaefer and you walk out. That's your set piece opening. And it's very generous to give a guest a chance to precede that. Yeah. Not many people do that. And I thank you for that.
Well, certainly.
And I felt a little bit badly about it because this is your store.
Yeah, but truthfully, Tom, that time of night, our viewers are at the refrigerator looking for... Well, let's talk about
why is it so difficult for you to accept a compliment? And I've seen this happen time and again. People come out here and they pay you a sincere compliment, which I intended that to be, and you make fun of it.
I'm sorry.
No,
I should try to be more gracious.
No, but I watch you all the time, and people will compliment you, and you will, make a joke about it, as if you're embarrassed by the compliment.
Right. Well, I am. I'm ill at ease under those circumstances.
Well, you shouldn't be.
All right. Well,
it's not like you've been here for 2 days, pal. You've been here, what, going on 6 years?
Let's talk a little bit more about the radio show. How do you enjoy doing it? Do you like doing it? You're talking now to people all across the country every night.
The great thing about radio, David, and you know this, is that the makeup is always perfect.
Yeah.
The lighting is always perfect. You're always 22, Dave. They don't know, you see.
Now, I heard something great happen like early on your radio show, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. A woman called up who had written you a letter saying, Tom, call me, I'd like to get together. And she then hunted you down on the radio and called you up and said, what's the deal, Tom? You never called.
That's correct.
That's the great thing about radio.
You do research, don't you?
Well, I heard. I spent a lot of time in the car.
There was a lady who watched a show I did in television in Los Angeles about a year ago, and she called me on the air. It was a TV call, and asked me for a date. And I mean, what would you do if somebody called in here and asked you for a date? Now, if that isn't an opening, David, you're never going to get one.
Well, first of all, you notify security.
So anyway, I fump-foot around and got out of it, and now she, as you say, she tracked me down on the radio.
Right. This woman wants a date.
And I've been waiting a year for you, pal, and where the hell have you been? And I said, well, I'm busy, you know.
Well, give it a shot.
What do you mean give it a shot? I don't do blind dates. What's the matter with you?
But it might be fun.
I'm not Tony Grant looking for love.
Bring her in. Bring her in and have her on the show.
She's busy. She's busy.
No, the woman who wants your date.
No, we tried that once before from Indiana. Remember?
Yeah.
Hamana?
Yeah. How are we doing on time here?
We're probably running late.
We got a what? Do we have to go? No. Wow. He said no. I mean, he said no pretty quickly, didn't he?
I'll tell you, this is fun for me.
Let me ask you a couple more questions.
Being bartered over.
On this show right now, you can't say screw it. We've had huge arguments with the people. I don't even know where their offices are. I don't even think they're in the city. But
you mean you can't say what you just said?
Say it. Go ahead.
No, I won't do that.
You can't say screw it. Like, oh, screw it. I broke a fingernail. You can't say that.
Is this microphone screwed in here?
Yeah, it is screwed in. Yeah, that you can say.
Yeah, it's screwed right down into there.
That's right, it is.
It's screwed onto this table, isn't it?
But what kind of difficulties did you have along those lines?
The very same things, and I'll tell you what the problem is in a nutshell. Somewhere in this building, this revered building, there is a book called Standards and Practices for the NBC Television Network.
Right.
Have you ever seen that book?
No, I don't think it exists.
Ask for, no, it does exist.
I don't think it exists.
But people such as you and me are not allowed to see this book.
That's right.
And I once said to the very person who edits your show, they don't say censor, they say edits the show, right? There are no censors, editors, right?
Right.
To make sure that you don't say what you just said.
Screw it.
Right. I once said to this person, I said, these chairs are pretty flimsy, aren't they, Dave? I said to her, I said, let me see the book with all the rules in. She said, well, I'm sorry, but you can't see that.
Yeah.
I said, well, why not? She says, well, because you're only the talent. I said, words to live by, right? Yeah. You're only the talent, right? What are they going to do? Take me off the air? So anyway, Just a dumb thing. I thought to myself, I'm supposed to play by a set of rules here. I can't say what you just said.
Right.
What else can't I say? What else can't you say here? And I'm not baiting you, but they don't let you see the book. I said, how can I play by the rules if I don't know what the rules are here?
It seems to me to be arbitrary, quixotic, whimsical, inconsistent, all of those things.
People all over America say, screw it.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean...
No.
How are we doing on time?
However, I would caution you.
We got to go, don't we?
But I would caution you, don't... Please believe me, Dave, don't push it. You know what I mean? Don't push it.
I respect that, and from where it's coming.
Thanks for having me here tonight.
Listen, I hope that we don't have to wait so long to have you on again in the future. Anytime you're in New York, feel free to come in and visit with us. And good luck with the radio show. I think it's terribly entertaining.
Thank you.
Tom Snyder, folks. We'll be right back here. There are a handful of people, maybe fewer than 10 people in radio and television for any length of time who are actually pure, true, honest broadcasters. And Tom would be one. Guys like Bob Costas would be one. Right. Like Ted Koppel, Barbara Walters. Bryant Gumbel is another one. Jane Pauley. Not many of these people around. And our next guest is certainly one. By the way, did you see the Finelli Brothers last night?
I missed the Finelli Brothers. What is
my favorite
that show?
Well, you know, it's these three guys in their 60s. They moved back in with their mother in her 90s. That's the premise of the show. Last night, it was a very touching scene. One of the Finelli boys comes in and he says, "Hey, Ma, we're out of pastrami."
Yeah?
And Mom says, "Here's your pastrami." And that was the show. It was very nice.
Show. Man.
I watch it week in, week out. I never tire. Still, at a young age, our first guest is one of the legendary names in broadcasting. You can hear this man Monday through Friday nights on ABC Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Tom Snyder. Tom! Thank you very much for coming back.
Will Kenny be over soon?
I don't know if Kenny is coming over or not.
Oh, he'll be over. Trust me.
Oh, you know Kenny, eh?
Oh, well, when they get a chance to come over, they come over. You got a cold, huh?
Yeah, I've had a cold for about a week.
I got up this morning and my water pick died, Dave.
Use a water pick, do
Yes,
you?
I do.
Yeah.
And
now, let me ask you one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does that take the place of flossing?
Absolutely not, sir.
Really? You floss as well?
Anyway, yes, I do, sir. Legendary broadcasters, huh? Yeah. So anyway, I go into the drugstore on 6th Avenue, and in Beverly Hills, the water pick sells for $52.
$52, yeah.
It's $85 over on 6th Avenue, right?
Yeah.
So I'm standing there while she makes out the check, because for me to part with 85 cash is, you know, I don't do that often. And there's a word I want to use here. Can I whisper it to you?
Yeah, let me hear what it is.
Condom. Can you use condom?
Tom played a little trick on us.
No, the last time we couldn't use the...
I think now, you know, they fired that department that monitors all that stuff here at NBC. You can say anything now.
So anyway, I'm there waiting for her to make up the tab for the water machine.
Right.
And I'm looking, and they've got all these things on display right there at the counter, Dave.
Sure, yeah.
Now, when you and I were kids in Indiana, you couldn't just walk into a drugstore.
Absolutely not.
And if there was a lady behind the counter, yeah, you bought a comb.
You have to drive to the next county.
That's right, right. In desperation, yeah.
If you needed to get your water pick fixed, you had to go out of state in those days.
Right. So I'm just looking at all these things, and I see this box. It says extra large.
Oh.
I swear to you, for the man who wants more.
Oh.
Now I'm thinking, you know, who's ever going to go in there and buy the regulars anymore? I mean, what guy's going to walk in and say, "I'll take a medium, please"? You know, nobody. Yeah.
They've put everybody else out of business.
But you can say condom on the
Yeah,
air.
you can say a lot of things that when you were in this network you couldn't say.
You know what's interesting to me is back in the old days, like Melman used the word, and I won't even say it,
Right.
ASS,
Yeah,
right? You
right.
couldn't use that
No,
word on
no,
television. Now, about a year ago, I go on the other show, The Tonight Show with Leno, our pal, right? And I had just installed a new washer and dryer made by the company where the guy is always lonesome on the phone. You know,
Maytag.
Yeah, but you can't say Maytag on this network.
Really?
When I watch The Tonight Show, it comes out backwards. It's Yamgat.
So, they scrambled it.
And so I had this Yamgat, and, and all America's saying, geez, what'd he say?
Yeah.
You know.
The Japanese have purchased Maytag.
And so...
Go ahead.
And I caught, no, that's a very funny line.
Well,
it's one of the few things that they do you know, by the way, that in the hotel, they have these books called Guest Informant, where
Yes.
they tell you the restaurant. There's one now, I swear to you, it's for Japanese visitors to New York. It doesn't list jewelry for sale. Buildings.
Is that right?
The city-
an actual listing?
The city
of
is
real
a,
estate.
is a boutique.
Well,
yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So anyway.
And this one's not on the list anymore.
No, it was purchased by Mitsubishi, right?
Right.
They get it? Okay. Anyway, now, so you're on the Tonight Show. You're
And
telling the story.
And I
Yeah.
say Maytag, and I get home at night, it's Yamgat.
Yeah, right.
I thought, I thought the words you couldn't say were ASS, and the last time was screw, we couldn't say
Right,
here.
right.
Now you can't say the name of washers and
Yeah.
dryers on
You know, what I found out is also, now, when I started in broadcasting here at the network, I had that little daytime show. In those days, hell, you couldn't say biscuit. But now, oh, never mind. I was going to show you how ugly you can get on TV now, but I'm not going to because that's certainly beneath you. But of course, but not beneath the audience. No, you know, I listen to your show every night. Thank you, and it's mesmerizing. You create such an atmosphere of intimacy on the radio there when you're driving up the highway at night. It's fantastic. I really, really get a kick out of
Thank
what
you.
you do.
Thank you.
Do you enjoy? You must enjoy it. You're in your third year now, right?
I love the work greatly. You were a guest there one night,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
radio is, it's live, and what I love is the people who call in. Remember the people who called you on the phone?
You know, I mentioned this to you once before. It was my observation that having a show like that is a little bit like picking up hitchhikers.
Yes.
Because you don't know anything about them when they get in the car, and pretty soon you know way too much about them.
More than you want to know.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Last night or the night before, I'm talking to this guy, Tim Robbins, you know,
Right.
from Bull Durham, who
Right.
played Nuke LaLoosh. And you know how even when you're doing this here, if somebody's telling a story or the band is playing, you'll be going over your notes or getting yourself set. So I say Jack in Hartford, Connecticut, say hi to Tim. And now I'm going over something that's coming up. And all of a sudden, I hear this guy on the phone telling Tim Robbins how much he loved him on the Carol Burnett show. He thinks he's talking to Tim Conway, for heaven's sake. I said, you got the wrong guy here, you know.
Yeah, now, but that's all part of it.
Then one night a guy called up and we had to go to the station break, so you slide through it, and he says, well, let me give you my number so you can call me back. I said, look, you know, here we don't call you.
That's not exactly the format.
Yeah, you call us, you know. So now, of course, everybody on the line that night said, hey, Tom, thanks for calling us tonight.
You know, that would be interesting. Just you sign on and just
Not
at
here,
random,
but, yeah.
you start dialing people up and talking to them all over the country.
Right.
Let's see. Let's do. Well, yeah, I'll talk about that in a second. We have to do a commercial. We'll be right back with Snyder. Carlene Carter is here, and Gabriel Byrne is here. And by the way, just by further information,
Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Rogers may or may not be here. Gabriel Byrne is married to, oh, now, of course, I've forgotten her name. Why can't I remember her name? Huh? Ellen Barkin, yeah.
Ellen Barkin.
Yeah, lovely woman. Now, a couple...
Now, wait. Do you give away the $1 million? I went to McDonald's today, and I stood in line for an hour to get this dumb ticket, okay? Is this the ticket? Take a look.
Yeah, this is it.
Let me hold it back here for you.
Millions on NBC. This is a multi-million-dollar promotion for NBC, the network, and McDonald's.
Now, you had the guy last night,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Won $8 million?
Yes, his name is Thorough, Mr. Thorough. Yeah, 80-year-old man, very, very nice, and he's now got $8 million.
Of our bucks, your bucks.
Of NBC's money. And he says to me, you know, they're being very nice to me.
Of course.
And I said, well, yeah, you've got them by the McNuggets, sir.
Paul, very, very good.
You've been
Wouldn't it be
watching.
great if Paul tasted food one night and said, that tastes like puke?
Yeah, no, but
Can
he
you
loves-
use that word?
Yeah, you can use it. Anyway, you have your ticket there.
Hal, would you ask Hal to
Hal, right over
Do you
here, I
have the
think,
number,
number
Hal?
1. Yeah.
See if he's got the winning
Oh,
number.
do you have the winning number? Tom wants to check his ticket and see if he's... Oh, there it is. Now, is that your number?
Wait, read this number off here.
Okay, 332371774.
Good night, Dave.
Oh, my God, he's won, ladies and gentlemen. He's won $1 million. You know,
But what interests me is, there was a guy, and he put his name in the paper, who works at CBS,
Right.
who bought one of these and won $1, which is the booby prize.
Right.
And he was in charge of, what do they have over there? If
it was Kmart. I think last season they had Kmart.
Yeah,
an
this
affiliation
again,
there,
you
yeah.
win a washer from Kmart or whatever it is. So that guy won $1 of your money, too.
Let me ask you
is
this.
catching on like wildfire.
You, oh, is it ever?
And you know, like Ferris won the time
Ferris
period.
Bueller, no.
No.
The people in Ferris Bueller
by the
will be
way-
working at McDonald's. That's how that works.
Let me tell you.
Now, let me ask you a question.
From experience.
I have 2 questions.
Careful.
Now, when you started on network television, did you imagine in your wildest dreams that there ever one day would be a contest like this with a burger franchise?
Never.
Yeah.
Never dawned on me.
Yeah.
No. Back then, and you started back then too with the morning show and
Yeah.
shows that you did out on the coast. We always operated under the principle that if you try to give them the best show you possibly can, they'll watch. What a concept, huh?
That's right.
Well, we certainly put that where it belongs, haven't we? Yeah. And of course, then there's the poor guy who's on opposite you who says win $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're giving away $8 million, what chance does he have giving away $1,000 at night?
Everything's changing. It's all different
yes,
now.
it is.
A couple of years ago, you came in and for a week hosted or co-hosted the Today Show.
Right.
That was a great experience, and everybody who saw that show said, geez, you know, it was terrific to see Tom Snyder back there,
Right.
doing those interviews and running that show.
No, I didn't run it. I went there as a...
No, but your segment, you
yeah.
were running your segment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that they, when they had some personnel changes, when there were some openings there, I know they must have come to you and said, Tom, are you interested in being a part of the Today Show family?
They once asked Edwin Newman, who used to work at NBC,
Yeah,
how come
very
he
nice
had
man.
never hosted the Today Show.
Right.
He said, because they never asked me.
Yeah.
And no, they haven't called. Now, my phone has been off the hook, I'll tell you.
But would you consider, I mean, you have a successful radio show, and I get the sense from listening to it nightly that you're really enjoying it.
I love it. And by the way, I promise the people that I work for, you know, when you do radio, the station operators, and you know affiliates, you know, your
Yeah,
stations that
right.
carry your show, they're very concerned that you're going to leave the show or go on to something else. They want to make sure that you're going to be here because it's bucks in their pocket.
Yeah.
So the radio station people, they says, yeah, we'll hire Snyder, and he'll be a success on the radio, and then he'll go off and do some crap television
they
show
were
a
worried
year
about
later.
it. Yeah.
And they were
Yeah,
worried.
yeah.
And I don't want to. I'm not doing radio to do television.
Yeah.
My work is in radio right now, and as you know, I have a very, very good time there.
Yeah.
You've been on.
I know,
We
yes,
have
I
a
know.
wonderful
All right,
time.
now, having said that, put that aside. We understand
But
why
you know, there are 5 words I've never heard on your show, and it's coming up on 9 years now, isn't it?
Yeah. What are the 5 words?
David's guest host tonight is.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. But, you know, that's not my doing.
I know.
Yeah. I wouldn't be here tonight if I could have gotten a guest.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
But what would the situation be to get you back into a television
Why
job?
are you doing this to me?
I'm curious.
But all the years that I did the Tomorrow Show,
Right.
people said, now, when you finish this,
Right.
what is it you want to do?
Well, I know that's a silly question
you
because
know,
that
it's
is
like-
what you want to
and
do.
like,
Yeah.
when you finish this, you're doing what you want to do. It'd be like going to the Pope and saying, you know, when you're all through being Pope, you know, what is it you really have in mind for the rest of your life, you know?
Yeah. And he would say, I'd like to guest host Letterman show. But you know, I know I'm putting you in a silly position, but geez,
Right.
when you see you back there doing it, you think, damn, I mean, you could go right back there today and it would still be great.
Thank you.
I know you got to run out and get yourself a double cheeseburger, Tom.
No, I
Good to
really
see
don't
you.
have to.
No, you got to go. Believe me, you have to go. We'll be right back. ever think about this one thing? A tambourine? What do you think? Maybe, huh? Let's see. They didn't care for the frozen squirrel, enjoyed the Girl Scout being hustled into the squad car.
Listen, can I say something?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
You don't know me, and I never lie. But that was the best remote scene I have ever seen in my life. You don't know me. I do not lie.
Why did you get an early cab?
Yeah, maybe I lie.
Our next guest, ladies and gentlemen, truly one of the modern legends of television and radio broadcasting. He talks to people from Monday through Friday nights on the ABC radio network. Here he is, Tom Snyder. Tom! Let's clear up a couple of things. First of all,
Yes, sir.
strictly speaking, isn't broadcasting radio work only?
I beg your pardon, sir.
I think broadcasting, strictly speaking, is radio work only.
No, broadcasting is television and radio.
No, broadcasting is radio. Well,
What
generally...
is the matter with you tonight? you started with Crystal, and now you're worse than the guy on 6th Avenue I had today.
Oh, did you meet somebody funny on the
I came
street?
down and I was begged for 4 blocks, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and these people come up to you and they say, give me a quarter, give me a quarter.
Right.
So finally I stopped this one guy and I said, what can you buy in New York City for a quarter?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can't buy a piece
Exactly.
of toilet paper in New York for a quarter.
Right.
You got no chance. He said, yes, sir, yes, sir. He said, but I really need a quarter. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, how many people say no to you when you ask for a quarter? He said, most people not only say no, they say other things I can't say here.
Yeah.
And I said, well, if you're going to be told no, why don't you ask for $5? You know, if you're going to have a no, let's make it worth your while. He said, okay, give me $5. And I did. You know,
Yeah,
I
good
said,
for you.
"Oh,
That's darn
go
nice.
with God."
Yeah. Negotiable bonds you'll have the guy up to soon.
Broadcasting is...
But now I heard you talking about, by the way, I've said this before, I'll say it again, I think your radio show is very entertaining.
You're very kind. Thank
you. Know, the thing that I like about you on
These
the
people
radio...
have no idea what you're talking about, but...
Well, they should. They should.
Yeah.
And I think generally that some of the things going on network radio these days, very entertaining, very informative. And anyway,
Thank you.
It's good,
Thank you.
good to have you doing that.
Now, last night I interviewed a fellow that you know, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, Robin Leach.
Robin
all right?
Leach,
So
yeah, I
he
know
was
him.
he was supposed to come on at 11 o'clock. So it's 11:05 and the music is playing and there's no Robin Leach. The guy's nowhere in sight. So I went in and I sat down and I ad-libbed some stuff to get the show underway.
Right.
And then I went to a few calls and then I went to a commercial because I saw Robin Leach standing in the control room.
Oh, so he's in there, yeah.
I said, where have you been? He said, the security guard doesn't speak English. Here's a guy trying to get into a radio studio and the security guard doesn't speak English.
Right.
What's going on here, Dave?
I don't know.
I mean, I've heard you talk about this.
He may have, you know, in some way, though, perhaps he was doing you a favor. You just never, when you consider that it was Robin Leach, he might have, I don't know. Of course, I'm just kidding.
I understand.
Robin Leach,
you know,
yeah.
if Terry Garr would do radio, I'd have her there, you know.
You have the best people on that show.
Thank
you know,
you.
And what I wanted to finish up here saying,
Yes, sir.
if there's somebody, current events, global situation, politics, whatever, that's when you're at your best. You can extract an interview from these people that's interesting, entertaining, and insightful.
Thank you.
Now,
Having said that.
Now, having said that, now when you have somebody on like me, some show business dork,
Oh, come on.
and thank you, thank you. Oh, man, come on, I'll just.
What a night, huh?
Do you all just want to fight? Is that it? Because Tom and I will mop this studio with you. So when you have somebody on, and everybody has them on.
A show business dork,
Movie of the week or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're not interesting, you are still interesting.
Thank you.
And to me, that makes the show, regardless of who's there.
Well,
it's
I'll tell
always
you, one night I interviewed a lady, though, and you couldn't be interesting. Her name was Mary Crow Dog, and as it turned out, come on now, it's an Indian lady, okay? And she... Here we go, yes, sir.
No.
And whatever I said to her, she was hostile.
Yeah.
She was mad at the white man for coming to America. Right. And after a while, I said to her, I said, you know, you came here looking to help Native Americans, And I got to tell you, you're not helping them with your attitude.
It's off-putting.
She was put off. She didn't say another word. I took phone calls and whistled and played Sinatra, and she didn't talk. I was not brilliant that night, not at all.
But I guess
we all have those nights where guests just don't cooperate and go along with the program.
I'm having one tonight.
Incidentally, I got up this morning and talked with Frank Gannon. I talked with Frank, you know, and he mentioned that Billy Crystal was coming on the show tonight.
Right.
And I said to Frank, I said, have you seen the... there is a sequel. I said, have you seen this new Billy Crystal picture, City Slickers? And he said to me...
I'm Frank Gannon. You don't know me. I've never lied to you. This is the best picture I have ever seen.
Love him to death. I'd still like to club him to death. Yeah, look at that guy. All right.
I wanted to say one thing.
Yeah.
The last time I was here, I also talked to Frank Gannon, and he said, you don't know me. My name is Frank Gannon, and Ann Margaret has the best nightclub act in Las Vegas. He says it about everybody.
Good for you, Frank. Attaboy.
Here on Frank Gannon Night.
We'll do a commercial. We'll be right back with Mr. Snyder. Tom Snyder. How many years was Tomorrow Show on the air? 9 years.
9 years. Almost 9 years.
Signed on from Burbank, California at 1 a.m.
73, October 73. Until you started here in, what was it, 82, I believe.
82. Did you, you know, Johnny Carson was on this program last night.
I've heard that.
And he's announced that this would be his final year in television here at NBC.
How do you and Johnny feel about the 5 minute later starting time?
Oh, I'm in favor of it. Anything NBC wants to do, I'm in favor of it.
You know, it's like deja vu here, because when I left, everybody was knocking NBC.
Well, you have to do that, yeah.
We used to tell the story about the guy who took his kid to Disneyland.
Oh, yeah, what is that?
And you know what it is. And the kid kept pestering the old man, Daddy, buy me a Mickey Mouse outfit.
Yeah.
So he finally bought him NBC.
Hey, there you go.
Without that, it would have been 10 years on the Tomorrow Show, but these things
but now, I'm sorry, let me interrupt you for just a second.
Go ahead.
I want to get your impressions of this. You and I have some kind of, I think, special insight as to what it takes to do what he's done. Stay on the air for 30 years.
Oh, my God.
Will anybody be able to do that?
Never.
That's like DiMaggio.
Never
with 56
again.
straight
And, you know,
games.
people say, who will replace Johnny Carson? And the answer is nobody. When he leaves, just as when I left, you took this to a different level. Whoever it is that does the Tonight Show will take it to a completely different level. It will not be what it is today.
But I maintain, and I've said this before,
But how about that 5 minute later starting time? you know what I love? In the paper this morning, it said it'll give the local stations a chance to cover more news, right? And probably run 3 more commercials for big bucks.
That's right, yeah.
Yep.
And Tom, as I mentioned last night on this program, I'm going to use that 5 minutes to make sure my makeup is perfect.
Oh.
Oh, no, we got to do a what here? I'm sorry. All right, we have to do a commercial. We'll be right back with Tom Snyder.
Is dead.
Oh,
And we're not laughing about it.
good night, America. Let's hear just a little bit of it. Just a little bit of it.
Monster Mac?
Yeah, using the Boris...
I was working in the lab late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. My monster from his lair began to rise.
All right.
He did the mash.
Our next guest has been entertaining late-night audiences for many, many years. At the end of this month, he will be leaving the radio airwaves to return to television. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back the keeper of the toll-free highway. We'll find out what that means. Yeah, here's Tom Snyder. Tom. Snyder, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, David? Good. Tom, good to see you. One of the tallest men on television, I believe. How tall a man are you?
6'4" in my stocking feet, sir.
How much do you weigh?
About 195 tonight, sir. Dropped about 50 pounds here 2 years ago. You look wonderful, sir.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
You want to do the top 10 list one more time tonight, or...
No, why don't you ask me how much I weigh and how tall I am and so forth?
How much do you weigh, Dave?
I'm, well, I'll just give it to you straight. 6'8", 280. You know, Tom, what I want to do, and forgive me if this is, we're going back, and maybe we've done this in the past, explain to people what the Tomorrow Show was, how it began, and what you did on the show, and what it came to mean, not only to you, of course, but to everybody who watched it. I saw most of those shows. I saw the very first one.
You know what's interesting? You've never asked me about this before.
Are you sure?
Yeah, and I've never brought it up here because, you know, it's the same time period.
Right.
And people ask me, you know, when we went off the air, people said, that Letterman. I said, wait, you don't understand. You know what I mean?
They're still saying
that,
that,
I know
Tom.
they are. And I used to say to people then, you know, it wasn't Dave, it was NBC that made a programming change.
Yeah.
And what I say...
made a programming change, made a huge programming mistake on your behalf.
No, not at all.
Oh.
No, not at all. Because let me tell you what you've done. And people call me on the toll-free highway, which is the toll-free number on the radio.
Right. That's right.
And they say, you know, what do you think of Letterman? I said, let me tell you something about Letterman. What you did is remarkable in this time period, in that you didn't come in and continue the Tomorrow Show.
Who could? Who could?
Well, but
no one could.
You took it and sent it a whole different way and took it to the next level as whoever comes on after you, and please God, that will never happen.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you want to be careful about that.
Oh, I know.
You know, when we got canceled, when they announced the Letterman show was coming on, we would go to the commissary here on, where is it, the 6th floor?
Sixth floor,
7th?
yes.
Yeah. And we would go in there.
What did I say? 7th. What did I say? 6th.
Well, I don't go there anymore. And we would go in there, and all the tables around us, there would be nobody sitting there.
Right.
Because we got canceled.
The stench of death.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know.
You're going to catch it, right. Oh, man. Don't go near Snyder. We'll go, too, right?
But explain to people who may not have seen the show, because a lot has come and gone since then. In the beginning, it was you in one chair, a guest in another chair, and I think, was it 90 minutes in the beginning?
No, it was an hour.
Just an hour.
Just an hour.
Of really entertaining, good conversation.
Well, we went after stuff that is now done on all the afternoon television shows, the transsexuals and the open marriages and, you know, that sort of thing. People who wanted to have abortions, parents and kids who didn't get along. We didn't do it with quite the... starkness that's done now, you know.
And enthusiasm. And they really promoted and presented differently.
Like, we can't wait to see who's really screwed up, right? Man.
And the show was on for 9.5 years?
8.5.
8.5 years. And it was very, very successful. Memorable shows. You interviewed Charles Manson one night?
One night, yep. People often ask, you know, how long you've been off, Tom. I said, it's real easy. Whenever Dave does an anniversary special, like if he's been on 10, we've been off 10. If he's been on 8, we've been off 8. It makes the math real easy, you know?
But now you're coming back to television.
CNBC, the cable service, with a primetime program in January.
And what kind of format is that going to be?
It's going to be like radio a little bit. I'll have guests and the toll-free highway, the telephone. You know, people loved... Can you believe that in this election campaign, President Bush, Bill Clinton, and Ross Perot are on Larry King, Today Show, wherever, taking phone calls from the voters, and that's how the candidates are reaching the electorate.
Yes, that seems to be the direction. It was inevitable, but now we are there. We have reached that point now.
Whereas a few months ago, they all said, no, we don't have to do that. Oh, yes, you did.
Absolutely. You know, Tom, what will make your new television show a great big hit?
Yeah.
Radioactive steam! There, get yourself some of that. We have to pause here for station identification. We'll be right back with Tom Snyder. Tom Snyder is here. We're talking about his soon-to-be debuting television program on the CNBC cable network system all over the country.
As a matter of fact, I was just upstairs on the 52nd floor here at
Wow.
30 Rockefeller
What the
Center.
hell were
Well,
you
you've been up there recently, I'm
Well,
sure.
I got lost on the tour once. That's why I was up there.
And I spent a little time with our good friend, Mr. Bob Wright.
Bob
who's
Wright, who's the
chairman, right?
president, chairman, what is he here? at
And
NBC?
chairman, boss.
Yeah,
He owns
that's
it,
right.
yeah. I saw Cosby outside. He's measuring for drapes here. It's interesting. Anyway, Bob said, give Dave this note and see if it provokes a response.
Oh, that's very nice. That's very. Should I read this?
Sure.
This is from Bob Wright right here on his stationery. Is this the Bob Wright stationery, the actual Bob Wright stationery?
What's the actual
Or the
Bob-
gag Bob Wright
No, no.
stationery that you can get in the NBC store?
This is not the Bob Wright blow-up stationery, okay?
Dave, is everything okay?
Man.
Tom says the new contract is in the mail. Bob, well, I guess that's good news for someone, isn't it?
Well, we hope for you.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you
Yes,
very
again,
much.
right.
Hey, wouldn't some radioactive steam hit the spot about now?
Would it ever?
Let's see. You know, when you left NBC many years ago, you went to work at ABC.
Yeah, I went to the radio, television at ABC
That's
News.
right.
And then, but let me ask you a question.
Sure, go
because
ahead.
we don't have that much time.
We got all the time you want, Tom.
Have you ever had moments on this show or any other time on television where it was going so badly that you saw your whole life flashing before your eyes? You saw your mortgage going up in smoke, your wife leaving you, your car being taken away, et cetera, et cetera. And I know there's a line there about your wife, but I'm not going to do it. Go ahead.
So you mean,
Where's-
aside from this here tonight?
Yeah, right. Yeah, aside from this one, which I'm happy to share with you, Dave.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that happens on a regular
Does
basis.
it ever? Yeah.
Absolutely. It can't. You're not having fun if that doesn't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than this,
Yes, it has happened.
Yeah.
Sure.
well, tell us about one.
Oh, I'd have to have the writers prepare a little something.
Oh, yeah. Like, one night, we were in here one night doing a show, and the producers came to me and they said, you know, there's this group, Wendy O. Williams and the
Oh, yeah, and the
Plasmatics.
Plasmatics. I remember that.
And they said they do a great thing at the end of their song. They blow up a car in the studio. I said, really? They said, yeah, this is really going to be great. So they brought the car into the studio downstairs, and we crank up the show, and what they forgot to do was tell John Chancellor and the NBC News crew in the next studio that at 6:45 that night, we were going to blow up a car, right? Oh, brother.
some terrorist activity in the
Oh,
studio.
man. The bomb squad was in there. Oh, it was awful.
Yeah.
Just awful.
I remember some of those shows. She was on more than once.
Yes, she
She was
was.
on several times,
Yeah.
and each time there was some kind of pyrotechnics taking
Yeah,
place.
always something blowing up, a lot of fire, a lot
Yeah.
of stuff like that. They like that in the
Yeah.
closing days of the Tomorrow Show, things blowing up and catching on fire.
It's, Tom, it's always great to see you. This is going to sound corny, but I really am your biggest fan. I enjoy all of your work, and I'm looking forward to the new television program beginning in January.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Tom, happy Halloween.
Always a pleasure.
Tom Snyder, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Snyder. We'll be right back. Our first guest is one of the best reasons for spending $19.95 a month for cable TV. This man is the host of his own show on CNBC. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome big-time TV star Tom Snyder. Tom! Yeah, I'm telling you, every time I see you, I'm really impressed anew how large a man you are. Stand up again, Tom.
All right, thank you, David.
Now take a look. I'm an enormous guy myself, but look at look at you tower over me. How tall a guy are you?
6'4" in my high heels, Dave.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you've lost a lot of weight, haven't you?
Now, let's not start that tonight, or I'm going to tell how much weight you've lost.
All right, I'm proud of it. I lost 25 pounds.
About 45, 50?
You lost 25
Yeah,
pounds?
about 45 to 50.
And so your top weight
Man,
was
is
what?
it cold in here.
Now, it's- Yeah, well, if I could think of something to say, I'd say it right now.
How you been? All right?
Hey, I'm okay. How you
Good.
doing?
I'm doing. Couldn't be better.
Good
Couldn't
for
be
you.
better.
You look like $1 million.
Well, thank you.
You know, I keep reading in the various periodicals, the Daily News, the Post, the New York Times, so on
Washington
and so forth.
Post, New York Times,
exactly.
yeah.
And of course your show business publications, Daily Variety,
Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah. That you may be coming to work here at CBS, and I think that would be great.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I don't know what's going on. You know, I just know what I read in the papers.
Yeah. So, but you know, they're talking about maybe you would do the show right after this one.
Well, like, do you know anything about that?
No, I don't know. Heck
Well,
no.
then, if you don't know about it, chances are it won't happen.
Well, now you have a show at CNBC every night.
Yes,
yeah.
sir. Yeah,
How
yeah.
long have you been doing that show?
About 1.5 years now.
And describe for the folks who are missing it. I see it almost every night, and I think it's great. It's a
Thanks.
great treat.
Thanks.
Tell the folks what it is.
Well, it's basically...
Give yourself a plug here, Tom.
It's basically a simple little TV show, and you know this, Dave, in which I interview guests. They come on. But we've kept the thing that really galvanized the audience during the campaign in 1992, and that's the 800 number, where people can call up on the phone.
Oh, sure.
Like the other night, we had a lady on the phone. CNBC is launching another talk network in July.
Really?
Yeah. We feel that everybody watching should have their own talk show. So I'm serious now. What they've done, now listen to this. They are conducting interviews and auditions around the country. So far, they've talked to, I believe, 55,000, 60,000 people. These are like the folks right here, come in, they do a thing on camera, and if they're hired, we give them a $75,000 a year contract, and they have their own talk show for a whole year.
Now, is that a good idea?
Well, I don't know, but I didn't know there was 75 G's a year in cable.
So this will be on the other cable channel, not the one that you're on.
No, this is called America's Talking.
Yeah.
So anyway, the other night we had a lady on the phone in her 70s, an adorable woman, and she was at Fort Lee the day before auditioning to have her own television show. I said, geez, you know, how'd it go?
Yeah.
She said, I think it went great, but she said, can I make any money at this? And when I told her 75 G's a year, she said, man, I didn't realize cable TV paid that. I said, me neither, you know.
And when will this take off? When are we going to see this woman?
It's a great launch day.
Yeah.
It's July 4th.
Wow, that's stunning, isn't it?
Well, because you see, Dave, what's great...
Well, I knew nothing about this.
No, but you see, here's what's so great about it, is that on the 4th of July, everybody's home watching TV.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's at the beach. Nobody's at the fireworks, you know. Nobody's having a picnic. They're all home watching people on cable TV that they've never seen before. It's great.
Or people they may run into at the mall earlier in the year.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't I see you at Gristides?
Tom,
Yeah.
I have a million things to chat with you about, but as you know, we have to do a commercial here. So I'm going to give you a second now to think up some really good answers.
Thank you, Dave.
And when we come back, we'll chat about all manner of thing here with Tom Snyder. We'll
Thank
be
you,
right
Dave.
back, kids. How do you do, folks? Tom Snyder, Jake Johansson, Ray Liotta. I've said this to you before when we've been on shows together, but my first memory of you, my first impression of you, the first time I ever actually saw you, for that matter, was I was working in Indianapolis, and I worked at a local television station, and we would sign off, I don't know, 1 o'clock, 1:30 or whatever, and then I would get home, and then suddenly, NBC in those days had this wonderful new show that came on at 1 after the then 90-minute version of The Tonight Show, and it would be you. And it would be you sitting low in a chair, kind of darkly lit.
Smoking a butt.
Had a butt going, just rolling up out of your nose there. And the image and the feeling of intimacy was overwhelming. It was magnetic. It was compelling. And I bet you that in the run of that show, I probably saw 85–90% of every
You're very
broadcast.
kind
Yeah,
to say that. By the way,
it was perfect for the
we have
evening.
brought that back to the CNBC cable
Yes, I
show.
know.
You know, it's a late-night television effort, and we feel it should look like late-night television. But let me tell a little story about you and me here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
You know, we exchanged this time period, or the time period...
I'm sorry.
No, you missed one over
I'm
here.
sorry. I was just doing a little grooming.
So I said to the guys backstage, I says, why does Dave keep it so damn cold in here? And they said, because he's nuts.
All right, Tom. I'm gonna have to have names for that. Who exactly said Dave's nuts? What do they look like? Where do they live?
You and I...
You sissies. It's like Outward Bound for the audience. Are you man enough to sit in the audience? Can you take it?
I'll tell you, if all else fails, I'll take the hot coffee concession up there, okay?
Tom, let's talk about the excitement of doing a show live. We don't do this show live. I mean, we never stop the tape, but we don't do it live, obviously.
The great thing about doing it live, especially in this time period, 11:30 to 12:30, like, for example, when you came to California, or when you're in California next month, I believe the week of May 9th, you could do it there at 8:30.
We're doing a week of shows from Los Angeles,
and
that's
if you
right.
did it, the great thing about being on live, Dave, and I want you to think about this. If you're on live, you are the CBS television network.
Oh, that's right.
You know,
Yeah.
The executives count for nothing, the management counts for nothing.
I kind of got him.
You
I
right
got
by
the reins,
old-
yeah. Yeah. You think it's cold now? I don't even know what that means. But has that ever worked against you? Has anything untoward ever happened?
Sure it has. I mean, there was a time, for example, I was doing a local show in Philadelphia, and the guest was so boring that in the middle of the interview, the producer came out, took the guy's microphone, I swear to God, and he was out of the chair and gone.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, well, was somebody coming to...
No. Do you get with the 800 number? Do you take all calls? Are they screened? Do you ever get any crank calls?
We screen them, but we get goofy calls. There's this guy out in Tipton, Indiana, a guy named Jerry, calls us all the time. He's in sand and gravel out there, you know. He sounds a lot like you, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
I have called the show on occasion, and I'm not calling anymore. I'll tell you why. Because the first couple of times I called you when you were on radio, which was also a wonderful effort, you didn't know it was me. I got away clean a couple of times. And then you found out that it was me, and once you find out, it's no fun anymore.
I know. That's why there's a very famous newscaster who works very late at night who used to call under the name of Martin in Baltimore and tell slightly askew jokes. We think it's Ted Koppel, but we never really... Listen,
Jeez,
before...
You know, I can understand why a guy like me would be calling you, but you'd think Ted Koppel would have something better to do with his time.
Yeah,
What
but
do you mean?
but you know, like you interviewed Walter Cronkite here one night, news guys enjoy fun and good humor as much as showbiz guys. Listen, before
Give me an example of Ted's joke, though. What kind of a joke would he tell you?
Oh, come on.
Now, come on, let's
No,
hear it. Yeah. Come on. Come on.
Come on.
It's the least you can do, Tom. These people are freezing to death.
All right, now listen.
Many have hypothermia now.
Dave, speaking of cold, I saw your mom from Lillehammer during the Olympics, and it was great. I mean, my mom was a little put out by it, but these things happen, as I told her. You know?
Tough. Too bad.
Yeah, too bad.
Too bad, Mom.
And
Get your own gig.
And I recall she was talking to Hillary Clinton about the speed laws in Connecticut or whatever that was all about. You know, apparently you've had a...
I've had a few tickets,
okay,
sure.
Fine. And it seems to me that I could give you a tip that might help you along, should that ever happen again.
Right.
And God knows I'm sure it won't, but just if by some strange quirk of fate you get nailed again. A fellow and I were coming back from Long Island here some years back at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, coming down the expressway in his XKE Jaguar at a speed rate in excess of 110 miles an hour.
Good.
Yeah.
110?
In excess of 110. Those Jaguars move, Dave. So we see the blue lights behind us, and the cop gets out, and you know how this goes. They come over to the window, you roll it down, and they say, license and registration. So my friend Murray hands the guy the license and the registration.
Murray, your friend?
Yeah, Murray. Yeah. When you work late night, you have odd fellow friends, you know. So Murray's...
Guy named Murray driving a Jag. I don't know. It just...
So Murray says, officer, he says, you know, before you take the license and the registration, he says, there's something else I feel you ought to have. And the officer says, what's that? He says, here, take this. And he took a card out of his pocket and he gave it to him. And the card turned out to be the card from the Monopoly set that says, get out of jail free.
Oh.
Yeah, and the cop took one look at the card and he started to laugh. He says, look, I'm going to turn the other way for 30 seconds. I don't ever want to see you guys on this highway again tonight. Get out of here. Dave, from the Monopoly set I bought today, get out of jail free, pal.
Well, bless your heart, Tom. There it is right there. Now, you know, this, of course, worked for you and Murray. The first time I show this to a cop, he'll put daylight through me. It's always a treat to see you, and I don't know, keep me posted. There is maybe a chance you'd come to work here at CBS?
I certainly, you would be one of the first people that I would call.
I certainly hope so,
Yeah,
Tom.
no, and before I just say goodnight to you, and I don't want to be corny about this, but you have been such a friend to me over the years. Usually guys who do what we do for a living never speak to each other. And you all should know that this man is a mensch and a gentleman and a dear friend, and I thank you for that. Mr. Letterman.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Dave.
Tom Snyder, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Snyder. We'll be right back. Show. Nice to have you here. Tom Snyder is on the program. Very funny woman, Janine Garofalo, will be out here a bit later. And Faith Hill, fantastic musician. Faith Hill, yes, love it. Thank you. And everybody tonight gets a free pencil. Paul, we've been doing this show for a long time, haven't we?
Absolutely.
In that time, it occurs to me that there has not been anybody, any member of our staff, that had particularly commentable hair.
I think you're right.
It's just been more or less people have hair or, you know,
pretty normal
used
hair.
to have
Or,
hair.
yeah, in
Sure,
my
exactly.
case, yeah.
Well, we have a brand new announcer, Alan Coulter. Are you over there, Alan? Take a look at this man's hair. Look at that handsome head of hair this guy has right there. Came into our life yesterday. Look at that. Amazing. Nice to see Danny Bonaducci working again. But, you know. But sure. And then, yesterday, on Alan's first day here on the show, our cue card man, kid, guy, Tony Inky Mendez, shows up to work like this. Take a look at that. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. The place has gone hair crazy. We talked about this afternoon. You're willing to do this, right? You change the color right now, tonight? Sure. What color? No, surprise us. Do you have people upstairs that can do this for you? Yeah. All right. Make it something that would go nice with Alan. You know, like a little stoplight effect over there. Okay. Okay. Am I done? Am I done with it? Oh, look at that. This is very, very nice. Very, very hip. Am I done with the cards now? All right. You run off. Be a dear. Go upstairs and change your hair color.
You're gonna change his hair color?
Yes, that's what he said.
Wow.
There you go. I hope we don't have to phone Dr. Armand. Turns across the floor. No, you're back already? Well, how the hell did you do that? With like a magic marker or something? He's back already. Look at that. Go over there and stand next to Alan. Stand next to Alan. Go over and stand next to Alan. There we go. This is... Here, let's see what that looks like.
I hope that launches out.
Honey, is something wrong with the color on the Trinitron? Now, what did you really do? Is that just spray? Yeah. So you could change it all night? Yeah. All right, well, when we're done here, go change it again. All right? Rainbow. I like that. That looks cool. Ladies and gentlemen, for 2 hours each weekday evening, our first guest and I are the only things right here on CBS. He is, of course, the multi-talented host of the wildly popular Late Late Show with Tom Snyder. Here he is, folks, Tom Snyder. Tom? Nice to see you.
Thank you, sir. Nice to be seen.
Welcome to the program. Congratulations on the success of your new show. You must be terribly pleased, terribly proud.
Thank you, and thank you for your support. You know, I heard you talking here about the spirit of New York in your monologue.
Right.
And by the way, you're rolling tonight. I got to tell you, you're rolling.
Mm-hmm. Hey, would you like to change the color of your hair? Come on, Tom. Come on. Let's put all the way out. You. Oh, yeah, I'll do it. Sure. You want a trade? But, oh, okay, well, Let's think this over.
So I'm coming out of the CBS Broadcast Center. I went over today to see our friends Harry Smith and Paul Lozon.
They do a great job on the CBS Morning News.
So I'm coming out, and Gary Sinise, you know, the fellow from...
Academy Award nominee from Forrest Gump.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep, Lieutenant Dan. He signs an autograph for a guy on 57th Street, and he goes inside the building. And all of a sudden, another guy comes up, and he grabs the autograph out of this guy's hand, and they start fighting each other to the death on 57th Street for an autograph.
Yeah.
Now, we're not talking about the lottery, 25,000. We're talking about a piece of paper like this with Gary Sinise's name on it, and these guys are going to kill each other. Welcome to New York. I mean, gee.
Let's
go a different way.
Let's dye our hair right now.
You can't. Don't bring it out here.
Oh, really? Do you have it?
Don't you dare.
Wait a minute. Let me just see. That's all it takes to be a hero, Tom. Think about that.
Why am I here?
Oh, man, you would look so good in green.
Oh,
that would
right,
be so...
fine. Give me the green.
Here we go. You got green stuff.
We got a shampoo.
We'll be right back here with the Jolly Green Giant.
You did a couple of...
You know, I look like a dork. You look great with
stop it.
You look great with a little green. You look terrific.
Can you imagine giving two guys a can of green paint and this happens?
It's just a little too much chlorophyll in the diet.
Stupid, Mike.
I am Cy Sperling with a new development in hair care for men.
Oh, my God.
Just plant yourself a head full of grass and see what happens.
The amazing thing is, these people down here, they're crazy. I went down with the can.
I know, you were spinning everybody.
They all want it.
Yeah, and you'll be arrested. You could be arrested for that. Yeah, look at Morty. Morty looks like it could be a bacterial problem. Get you some Head and Shoulders, Bob, a little Desenex, and take care of that. Tom Snyder is here on the program. Janine Garofalo, very, very funny, engaging, talented woman, and Faith Hill will be out here a little bit later. Let's talk a little bit about your show. Things are going well?
Yeah, right. Sure. Let's sit here in green hair and talk about a show. What are you, nuts?
Well, all right. Tell the fist fight story again, then. We go through this every time you're here. You've been in broadcasting a long, long time, haven't you? No, you've been in broadcasting a long time. Where was your first What location was your first on-camera television professional job?
I worked in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was Art Fern. I hosted the morning matinee.
The morning matinee. What was the morning matinee? Morning movie, I guess.
A
obviously.
movie, and you go in the studio, and they had stuff to sell. They had refrigerators and stoves.
You would have to do all the commercials live.
Commercials.
Sure.
You know, here I am for the Columbia Sewing Machine Company. Here I am for the Cottage Cheese Company. Here all these things. And my hair wasn't green at the time. You know. See, now you're looking at it, and you're making fun.
No, but this is the way.
You promised you wouldn't make fun this
People
time.
will look like this. Everybody will look like this in the year 2050. We'll all look like this.
And now they're going to put a repeat up of my show in a half an hour, and they're all going to say, "What happened?
What happened to the green hair?" I'm telling you, this is going to start a whole new thing for you.
I
Because
hope so.
You're already an attractive man,
Thank
but
you.
now just beautiful-looking guy with that green hair.
Man.
I know. All right, so you're down there in Atlanta. What are the call letters of the station in Atlanta?
It's WLWA.
Still, owned by Crossley and
Crossley,
Avco.
that's exactly
Sure, yeah,
right.
long time ago. And Dave Dorset, one of our cameramen right there.
Right there. How are you,
The green
Dave?
hair worked
Nice to
down there
see
with
you.
you, didn't
Yeah.
he?
Yes, I did. Yep.
And how old were you at the time?
23, 24.
23?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. We have a little, I guess it's videotape.
No, please don't run
Yeah,
this.
no, we haven't. You've got green hair. What
No,
difference
please don't run this. I beg of you. What, is this the cottage cheese? I beg you, please.
This is Tom Snyder doing a commercial for, it's all about how to make cottage cheese. Here, go ahead, roll it.
Avondale has expert cheesemakers, the best cheese-making equipment, and the most scientific method available. All the air is double filtered and pressurized. Now let's see how cottage cheese is actually produced.
That's where you see how cottage cheese is actually made. Tom, thank you very much. Always a treat to see you. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I couldn't be happier with the Late Late Show. You and the folks there do a wonderful, wonderful job. Congratulations to you and those folks on all your success. Nice to see you again, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for being here. Tom Snyder, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Letter number 2. Dear Dave, what's the deal with the mirror on your desk? Reflectingly, Billy and Tracy Gray, Chilliwack, British Columbia. Chilliwack? Chilliwack? Have you heard of that?
Chilliwack, yeah.
Chilliwack, British
BC.
Columbia. Okay, we have a letter here from British Columbia. They want to know what's the deal with the mirror on the desk. Look at this right here. We're kind of proud of this. It's a little something I just kind of fool around with for my own amusements. It's a mirror, and what we do, we generate kind of a low-level pressure, power, intensity laser, and when we do that, we can shine it into that mirror, and then it bounces off a mirror over there, and then from that mirror, it goes across the Ed Sullivan Theater, out those doors, and then when it hits the sunlight, because of the optic effect of that through the spectrum, it goes straight up into the sky, hits a mirror on a building, then it goes up to a satellite. Frank, a satellite. NASA helped with that satellite. God bless you, Frank. Goes up to a satellite, and from there, it travels all the way to California, to Los Angeles, to CBS on the West Coast. Here, let me show you how this works. Turn on the videotape of this demonstration. It's fascinating. There it goes like that. Okay, out the door, up the building, up to the satellite.
Save another soul
now watch
from going
this.
down the
Watch
tube.
this.
Oh, for God's
Right
sake,
there.
Dave, will you stop with the mirror?
Okay.
Jeez.
That's what we do with that.
You know, our good friend, this was very sad to hear, our good friend Tom Snyder passed away yesterday, 71 years old.
Ah, too young.
Way, way too young. And you all remember Tom, he, I guess, came to national attention first on the Tomorrow Show, which followed Johnny Carson's Tonight Show on NBC. What a tremendous program this was, because in those days, you didn't have 1,000 television channels. You had maybe 4, maybe 5 if you were lucky. Yeah. And this TV would not be on all night. It would sign off. And then here suddenly, in the middle of the night, was Tom Snyder's program, and gosh, was that entertaining. Do you remember how great that show was?
Of course, yeah.
And here's what the nice thing about Tom was. It didn't make any difference who was on the program. It was all about Tom, because he could beat, it really was. you were fascinated by Tom. And when he was great, he was compelling. And even when he was being a goofball, he was compelling. And I remember one night we were watching a show and somebody had sent Tom a cane made out of part of a bull. And I think we all know what that is. You know, you say, hey, look at this. I had it made out of a, oh, fine. That's exactly what I want. You know what I mean? They get a bull's thing and they make it into a cane and then you mail it off to your uncle on his birthday or something and it's just, So, anyway, somebody had mailed one of these into Tom, and he's got it there on the show, and now he's interviewing somebody, and it didn't make any difference who he was interviewing. It never really did. And you hear some kind of commotion off stage. You hear something being pushed around, you hear voices, and you see Tom's eyes kind of dart over like that, and he's shooting up a dirty look. And then he goes on, and he goes on. This happens 3 times. And finally, Tom picks up the cane, and he says, shut up! And he just wings the cane over there. Pretty entertaining. He was the best. And then that was the Tomorrow Show, and then he did a show right after us called The Late Late Show from 1995 to 1998. And this guy really was what television was all about. Whatever was going on, Tom was the entertainment. So I'm very sorry that our old friend passed away on Sunday. Tom Snyder, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at a picture of him right there. There's Tom. There's Tom. Look at him. Knock it off or I'll throw my bull cane at you.
Those were the days when they smoked.
That's right.
Smoked on
Smoke, and we're proud of it.
Everybody had a butt going.
That's right. That's what really made television great in those days.
Yeah, right. Dave, you'll be on radio in no time.